Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Gone Racing. Gone Racing presented by Dude Wipes, that is. Jeff Motley here in the South Point Hotel Casino studio. And my partner in crime, Brendan Gaughan, is joining us remotely this week. Brendan, where are you this week?
Back in San Felipe, bud. Back where I love to be. It sounds like this room's going to be a little echoey today, so it might be a little obnoxious. But I am down in Baja, down at Mexico, where I love to be, the San Felipe 250 right now. They're qualifying as we speak on this show. They're qualifying the trophy trucks right now out in the desert. And Class 1s, we don't qualify anymore, so we're going to line up. I believe I drew dead last out of the hat, so I am starting dead last in Class 1 for the 250 on Saturday.
Does it really matter where you start in that thing? Does it matter if you're last?
It does a little bit. We start in Mexico on San Felipe. We start a thing called Zoo Road, which is might as well just be called Dante's eighth layer of hell. And the spec trucks tend to catch us very quickly because they can go faster down the Zoo Road section than my Class 1 can. But then I pass them everywhere else. So it ends up making for a very long day in the desert. But it is San Felipe. I do love it here. It's one of my favorite places in the world. And I was trying to have a pretty review for you, Jeff. You know, I love to rub it in when I'm out of town. But too much backlight, couldn't do it.
Well, you're not in Fiji this time, so.
Well, we couldn't send you anything from Fiji. It didn't work.
Yeah, we will be wishing you well this weekend down there in San Felipe. But we got a little NASCAR to talk about this week, Brendan. And, hey, guess who's back? Denny Hamlin. Hamlin is back. He dominated that race at Martinsville. I mean, he was the class of the field pretty much all day long. Do you remember maybe your days when you would run trucks at Texas where you had a truck where you just knew you were the class of the field all day?
Yeah, you missed those. When you get those, let me tell you something. And Denny being on a 31 race winless streak and 10 years at Martinsville, he's going to appreciate this one a whole lot more now. He absolutely just crushed him. Looked like the Denny of old. Still was a good race, but definitely looked like the Denny of old. It was put a hell of a job on it. And some guys, how about the top 10, Jeff? There are some guys in there that, starting to creep up there a little more often that we may have to start talking about. You've been talking about one of them for a while in the conversation, but definitely a lot of movers and shakers for the betting side.
Yeah, we'll get to him in a minute. One guy who actually it's kind of a team that was very, very unlucky, Josh Berry. Josh Berry was probably the best car in the field early on in the race, had an electrical problem. Then Austin Cindric, sort of a team car, Penske, Wood Brothers, also an electrical problem. But they were the only ones that seemed to have that issue. But what do you think caused that? Because they had to park Cindric because he ran out of batteries.
Yeah, they had a battery issue, and whether it's the manufacturer or something, the way it was wired, they basically just ended up with basically. The alternator was overcharging the battery or wasn't charging the battery enough. I never got full word on what happened. Just a mistake. And Josh Berry, remember, we both had him picked. We were high on Josh Berry, and he was showing it. He was running top 5 most of the day when he was running.
Well, he was
really good until
he was leading when the alternator went bad and then the battery went dead. So. Yeah, tough break for those guys. But we talked about the success that Denny Hamlin had. He was plus 700 to win. That was a great number on Denny Hamlin if you took him there, plus 700. He was plus 140 for his top 3. His head-to-heads, a couple of plus lines there, plus 130 against Ryan Blaney. I believe a couple of us had that pick, Brendan. I know I had it. I think you might have had that one too. He was also
a couple of us had that.
Yep, and Pit Crew, I think, had him plus 110 against Joey Logano. He was plus 320 in Group A and brought Toyota home as the long shot there, plus 220.
Yeah, I being the long shot in Group A, we talked about it. We just didn't feel that it was enough enticement for us, and whoa, were we wrong. I mean, he absolutely put it on him. So good job on that part. And Denny Hamlin, if he can, Denny has these spurts, right? I mean, all of a sudden he is back to being the man. He showed up with the shirt after the race. What'd that shirt say? Denny versus
I think it was 11 versus the world or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, so it's I like it when he's got the attitude, and hopefully he can keep it going for a while because that'll be good for the bettors because he'll definitely shake some things up.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed listening to his press conference after the race. I think it was sounded like it was Bob Pockrass or somebody that asked him why he did that. And he kind of said, why not? And he said, look, he goes, what you don't understand is what fuels my fire is being able to talk smack and to be able to use that as leverage. He goes, even if I'm playing pickup basketball or I'm playing cards, he goes, I am talking crap. That wasn't exactly what he said. He is talking that because that's what he uses to motivate him. And if that works, then God bless him. It works, right?
Look, you do what works, and I think Denny didn't, when Kyle Busch was there, he didn't wear the full black hat, right? Because you had Kyle Busch was the bad guy, and Denny got to kind of run as almost the bad guy, maybe not quite the bad guy. Now he's there as the bad guy, and he's trying to embrace it. He's got his podcast. His voice has definitely gotten bigger and bigger. He's got Michael Jordan backing him, which helps him, have that voice, and so he's looking good right now. If he gets some swagger, maybe this is the year he finally gets over the playoff hump and gets it all the way to the end.
Well, in Martinsville is a place that if you screw up in the pits, it can cost you the whole day. And they were flawless in the pits, which has sort of been the bugaboo for that team. Well, you were talking a little bit earlier about the top 10 finishers. Christopher Bell, somebody here had Christopher Bell to win. Finishing second hurts a little bit, but he was plus 250 for his top three. Bubba Wallace, a guy a lot of people have been talking up. Look, he is off to the best start of his career, bar none. He gets a top three, a plus 850, strong car all day long. No big surprises there. Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain. But who finished seventh? Third top 10 in a row, Ryan Preece. Holy smokes. What?
Look, Ryan Preece, third top 10, and Todd Gilliland right there in the top 10, and Chase Briscoe right there in the top 10. Chase finally starting to inch his way up to what we thought was, going to be, we're expecting from him more in the season. But that, you keep bragging about that Todd Gilliland every week, Jeff. You keep betting on him in the Group Ds and Group E's and F's, and Gilliland right now is starting to perform like maybe he deserves to be up a group more.
Well, yeah, I think you're exactly right. And Preece has really impressed me. I mean, right now he's the class of the RFK field. I mean, Buescher's had some solid runs. Brad has had a tough start to the season, but Ryan Preece, I mean, what do you think has gotten into that? I mean, it's a brand new team for him. We always have known he's a good driver. He just needed a little better equipment. Think so?
I mean, look, it takes a lot of things. Equipment's one of them. Chemistry is another. Right now, he's over there with Brad. Remember, he had a contract that whole time there too. Remember that whole thing where him and Buescher, even though they were loaned out somewhere, they kind of had a contract at goofy little things. So I think Brad has made a big difference there. And I think that Brad, some of the distraction of owning that team probably is weighing a little on Brad, but man, it's working great for Preece. And remember what we saw at Buescher a couple years ago where came out of nowhere, didn't expect it. Maybe this is Preece's turn to do it this year.
No, you might be right. Well, we talked enough about everything that went on at Martinsville. The next 5 races coming up. We've got some diversity in here, not as much as we see at certain points of the year. But this weekend, we're going to be going down to the Lady in Black, Darlington Raceway. It's throwback weekend. We'll see all the really cool paint schemes on all the cars. In fact, I know they're doing it for Xfinity and for Cup. I saw the paint job that Jeb Burton, he's going to run the old Hardy's car that his dad raced, which is going to be really cool. And then one in the Cup Series that I saw that really just stood out to me that I really like. Kyle Larson is going to drive the car that looked like the old Kellogg's number 5 that Terry Labonte drove. And I think that one, they unveiled it down at Darlington a couple weeks ago. Anyway, that's going to be really cool. Then we head off to another one of our old speedways, Bristol Motor Speedway. We know what a crazy time it is there. And then after the Easter break, we go to the biggest, baddest track on the circuit. We got Talladega, and then we got a couple of 1.5-mile tracks that are very similar there, Texas Motor Speedway and Kansas Speedway. What are you looking for in these next 5 races?
Well, like I said, there's still a lot of diversity. The last 2 are 1.5 miles, but you go to the oldest speedway, you go to Bristol, you go to Talladega, the biggest 62 team will be back at Talladega with Fast Pasta again. And then you got Texas and Kansas. I mean, great scheduling. The truck drivers are still looking at the schedule much happier than they were at the start of the season. They all get to stay kind of somewhat compact, even though Texas may be out there, but it's nowhere near as far as Vegas to Homestead. So they're definitely happy.
Although the Texas go back home, then go to Kansas on back-to-back weekends.
That's still less distance than it is to go Vegas to Homestead.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right, so we talked about the fact this weekend we're heading off to Darlington Raceway. And you can't talk Darlington Raceway without talking about the guy we just talked about who won at Martinsville, Denny Hamlin. The guy's got 4 wins there, 25 races, Brendan. How about this? More than half of his Cup starts, he's finished in the top 5. And in 75% of his starts, he's finished in the top 10. That's remarkable.
Look, that's more than remarkable. I mean, that is a stat that is just downright amazing, especially as tough as Darlington is. You know, the lady in black, laying the stripe around the place. That is just absolute skill. You look down a little bit though at some of these guys, and there's a few of them. Look at Joey Logano, 13 starts, 11 top tens. You know, 6 top fives. Same sort of thing. I mean, there's some guys that when they're good here, they're really good. Tyler Reddick, no wins, but there he is with a lot of top five, a lot of top tens with very few starts. So there's some guys here that we expect to be really good, and guys that have been running good right now too. I mean, those Hendrick cars are all running really dang good, and so are the Gibbs cars. They're the cream of the field between those two teams.
Well, and I always think when you go to Darlington, look, the only way you're going to be successful at Darlington, you're going to win at Darlington, is you show patience. We know how the tire wear. I mean, if you just go out of there on a bonsai run, you know, right off the bat, I mean, it ain't going to be long before that whole group of the field starts catching up with you, right?
Look, I remember the old stories of the guys wanted to change tires when they got out to the grid for qualifying because they pushing them down the asphalt, they said would take good out of the tire. I mean, that place knows how to chew them up and spit them out. Jeff, it is true. I mean, I'm telling you, from the second you run in that joint, I mean, I think your tires that your street car rolled in on lost 10,000 miles just by driving into that track.
Well, and I think that's why we see guys. I mean, look, Denny Hamlin, maybe we don't always say he's the most patient driver in the world, but you know what? Say what you want about Denny. Denny also knows how to race, and you have to know how to race at a place like Darlington.
Yes.
Without question.
Absolutely.
No. So we know what's going to come this weekend at Darlington. It's going to take a lot of patience, a lot of tire management. That's going to be a big key. Okay, we come back on Gone Racing. We'll start giving you the odds to win, and we'll give you the top 3 odds for this weekend. Welcome back into Gone Racing. Gone Racing presented by Dude Wipes, that is. Jeff Motley here in studio at the South Point, joined via remote from San Felipe, Mexico, where he's getting ready to run the San Felipe 250, is Brendan Gaughan. And Brendan, before we get into the odds, one guy we did not talk about, in fact, his team got a big penalty this week, but Eric Jones, we go to Darlington, and he got a big penalty. And, I mean, we can talk about the penalty, but that's really neither here nor there. He's going to a track where in 14 starts, he's won twice, 5 top 5s and 8 top 10s. Now, I understand he was running for Gibbs in some of those races, but Eric Jones knows this racetrack, and if there's an opportunity for Legacy Motor Club to have a strong run, it's with Eric Jones this weekend.
Well, look, and Eric Jones may have got a couple of those wins at big teams, but we did not expect ever that coming out of Eric Jones. 10 races, 4 top 10s, 3 top 5s, a win in the last 10. You know, I mean, and he did that in some very surprising fashions too. So if there's a week that Eric Jones is going to end up with something, you know, maybe surprise us, this is the week. You and I have talked about the last couple of years. Every time we come to Darlington, we always kind of scratch our head and go, is this a week that you jump on an Eric Jones bandwagon? And I was surprised a team that didn't actually appeal a penalty, which is kind of odd if you want the truth in this day and age of NASCAR. So kudos to them.
Well, what people don't realize is you actually have to pay a fee to NASCAR if you're going to appeal, and if you appeal it to the next level, you have to pay again. If you know you're guilty, I mean, then why pay the money? You know, do you pay the money to tell your sponsor we're fighting it? But I just think if you're guilty, you know you're guilty, you plead guilty, and then you move on down the road, right?
Most of the time, you know what you did. This one, they were too light. They just ran too close to the edge and lost too much of something. And they basically said, yeah, we're not going to fight it. Let's go on to the next race. So not going to be a distraction. And this is a race that Eric Jones doesn't need a distraction because he's really dang good here.
He is. Well, let's take a look here at our odds to win this week. Kyle Larson is our favorite at plus 400. Then Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, and Denny Hamlin are all plus 600. William Byron is plus 700. Christopher Bell is 12-1. Chase Briscoe 14. Joey Logano 15-1. And then Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, and Bubba Wallace are all 20-1.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at right off the bat, and we just talked about Joey Logano. Those stats we just spouted out about him. I think the Joey Logano right there, 16-1. Pretty far down that list for how good he is at this place. I do kind of like that a lot. Same thing though, guys that have been hot. I mean, Christopher Bell, he is arguably still the hottest guy in the sport, and you got me at 12-1 with Christopher Bell. I mean, even if you look at the stats, where is Christopher Bell on my stat page? He's 6th best point getter in the last 10 races. So that's a double digit on the hottest guy in the sport, our hottest guy in the sport, your point leader, coming off a great run last weekend. I like that 12-1, man. He's been good everywhere they go.
You know, that's kind of the one that I looked at too. I like Christopher Bell 12-1. I can only believe that his odds are where they are because the two tracks that, and I don't want to say they're similar to Darlington, but they are certainly more similar to Darlington than anywhere else we've raced, and that's Las Vegas and Homestead, and that's been the two tracks where Christopher Bell has struggled the most. So it seems like where he's run well are on the restrictor plate tracks, if you will, the drafting tracks, super speedways, ran well on a road course, ran well on a short track, but the two intermediate tracks, if you will, is where he struggled. We're going to another intermediate track this week. I'm just saying that I think is why his numbers are 12-1, but I agree with you. It's a really good number.
And what about Denny Hamlin, the guy we talked about who is absolutely the best at this track? Unarguably, he's plus 600. That's a great return for a win.
Yeah, and you know, the other name that I like up there, and look, we saw him have a good run at Martinsville. We saw him have a really good run at Homestead. Bubba Wallace, 20-1. Look, there's a win coming there. That team is running too well. There's a win coming, and they're going to keep throwing him up there at 20-1. Somebody's going to have an opportunity to make a little bit of money on Bubba, I think. All right, let's take
he's going to get it one of these days.
All right, he's
going to get it again soon.
Yep, I agree with you. All right, let's take a look at our longer odds here. Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski are all coming in at 30-1. Josh Berry is 35, Ty Gibbs 40, Austin Cindric 50-1, Carson Hocevar 60, Noah Gragson 80, Ryan Preece and Daniel Suarez 100. The field bet 20-1.
So, Jeff, do you remember there was a playoff race here at Darlington? Not the throwback weekend, but the playoff race. There was a guy that was kind of written out for the season and was working on a long losing streak that he's still on, and he almost won that thing. He came home second place. That'd be Kyle Busch. And we talked about his stats. Kyle Busch, 30-1. Look, I know we're talking about how long he's been out, but 30-1 for Kyle Busch on a second page at a place that he just finished second at the last time they were here. Could this be the week that he gets off the schneid?
Well, I certainly think there's a possibility. I mean, I do believe there are guys sitting here on this list who are capable of pulling an upset, if you will. Kyle Busch, certainly one of them, which is really, it sounds almost funny coming out of your mouth when you say that Kyle Busch could pull an upset. Yeah. I think they've made some changes to some pit crew personnel over there at RCR, and I think maybe that's going to help him out a little bit. Chris Buescher is another guy that I think you expect to run well here. Granted, look, I know Keselowski's been struggling all year long, but Keselowski's been pretty darn good at Darlington. You know, sometimes it takes a driver to go to a track where he feels more comfortable, and maybe that's where he snaps out of it a little bit. So I think Brad Keselowski's a guy you got to look at. Look, Josh Berry. I mean, Josh Berry can win this race. There's no question about it. And I love it. Look, I'm not saying I'm going to go bet him. Ryan Preece gets 100-1. The guy's got 3 straight top 10 finishes, 2 of which were mile-and-a-half tracks, and of course one of them was at Martinsville. And you could almost say Darlington is almost like kind of right in the middle between a Martinsville and a Homestead in some ways. I just think that those are some pretty outlandish numbers on a few guys who are capable of pulling off the win here.
No, I was looking at Josh Berry going, wait, he just came to Vegas and won the Vegas race and looked great in it and was looking great last weekend. So I do like the Josh Berry pick. And like you said, Ryan Preece, there's no love right here for Ryan Preece. I mean, sure, he's 100-1. Hey, South Point, he's been top 10. You better watch out. These odds at the South Point, better watch out. He could bite us. Maybe not for the win, like you said, but you know what? This is why you and I talk all the time, Jeff. Shop your blinds, right? Shop around. I bet you can find a top 10. If we got Ryan Preece at 100-1 for a win, you might still be able to find him for 10-1 for a top 10 or top 5. That's a hell of a bet.
Nope, I totally agree with you. I think you got to keep an eye on him. All right, let's take a look at our top 3s now. Kyle Larson comes in at plus 130. Tyler Reddick is plus 180. Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin are plus 200. William Byron, 250. Christopher Bell, 275. Joey Logano and Chase Briscoe at 400. Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, all at plus 500. Chris Buescher's plus 600. Brad Keselowski, 750. Alex Bowman, plus 800. And Josh Berry, 10-1.
I'm going to go right to that Josh Berry. We just finished talking about it for the win. Maybe it's a little long, but here's a guy that was looking great last weekend. Here's the guy that won Vegas. Mile and a half. The Penske cars seem like they're doing pretty good on those big tracks like that. I like him a double digit for a top 3. But even then, Joey Logano, plus 400. Those are 2 right now that I am just zeroed in on.
Well, I agree with you on both of those. I think Logano, Josh Berry, both. I tell you, I'm also looking at Bubba Wallace at plus 500, knowing how well he's run lately, and Chase Elliott at plus 500. You know, I'm not saying, I know Chase Elliott, he's probably struggled a little bit, but Chase Elliott, I mean, Darlington's a kind of racetrack that I expect him to run well, and plus 500 is a pretty good number.
Look, Chase Elliott, we always talk about him not running well, and there he is every week, 5th, 6th, 7th. I would have loved to not run well like Chase Elliott. I mean, every time we say that, I kind of chuckle because it's like, yeah, I wish I ran that poorly. You know, he's right there looking at his stats. I mean, Chase Elliott, 4 top 10s in the last 10 races, 2 of them top 5s. So any of those Hendrick teams can be there. And if you're giving me a number that deep on a Chase Elliott and a Hendrick car, I'm not going to dislike that.
Well, and I think the fact that he's a 20-1 odd to win and a plus 500 for a top 3. I mean, Kyle Busch is 30-1 and a plus 500 on a top 3. I mean, I'd take Chase Elliott, considering people think he's got a better chance to win than say Kyle Busch does there. So I just think that's definitely an enticing number there.
Enticing what? An enticing bet.
Enticing bet. There you go. All right, let's take a look at our longer shots for top 3 finishes. Austin Cindric is 11-1, followed by Ty Gibbs, Noah Gragson, and Eric Jones at 14. Ryan Preece, 15-1. Carson Hocevar, 16. AJ Allmendinger, 18. Daniel Suarez is 25. Michael McDowell, 40. Zane Smith, Todd Gilliland, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Justin Haley, Austin Hill making a rare cup start, and Austin Dillon all 50-1, and Riley Herbst at 70-1.
Yeah, I right off the bat, I'm looking at that Eric Jones going, You know, we this is the place that he comes and surprises people. This is the place that he normally is able to get a lot of stuff done. That's a huge number. You want that long shot? I do like that Eric Jones. We've already talked a lot about Ryan Preece, so that number is still there. But maybe even an Austin Cindric. Once again, looking really good last couple races. Had himself in the playoff very solidly in the playoffs till, you know, a bad run last week. But I don't dislike any of those. And right now, Ty Gibbs to me, Jeff, I am on the wait and hold. Until Ty Gibbs starts coming back into the picture and showing anything, I'm on a wait and hold with Ty.
Yeah, I think he is definitely in the what have you done for me lately. We're going to need to see Ty Gibbs have a couple of really strong runs, I think, before we're going to bet on him in anything. I agree with you on the Ryan Preece. Of course, I've been high on Ryan Preece. There's nothing new there. You know, the one other name that is sitting out there because he has such a huge number beside of him and just would not shock me to see him pull out a top 3 here is Michael McDowell sitting there at 40-1. You know, he knows how to manage his tires. He's a veteran racer. Look, it's hard for me to say. He's not going to be one of my 5 picks today, but Michael McDowell at 40-1 and Todd Gilliland at 50. I mean, Todd Gilliland.
I'm surprised you didn't say Todd Gilliland.
Well, and him at 50. I just think for top 3s, those numbers seem to be, I don't know, abnormally high to me for top 3s.
Look, I like you said, I would not be betting Michael McDowell in this for a top 3 or Todd Gilliland, honestly. But if you're telling me that for a top 3, Todd Gilliland is 50 and Michael McDowell is 40, go right now onto DraftKings, which these come from DraftKings, these odds right here. Go to DraftKings and check out their odds for a top 10. They're probably still high double digit, like 10, 15, maybe 18-1. That I would jump all over.
Yeah, I just think that I think what we're trying to do is we look for value here, and there's some value there. Okay, we'll be back on Gone Racing shortly, and we will start getting into our head-to-heads and our group matchups. Hello, everybody. Jeff Motley here. Gone Racing, presented by Dude Wipes in the South Point studio. My good buddy
We're
Brendan
saying that way
Gaughan.
too boring. That's way too boring right there, Jeff.
Maybe
Just the presented by it's Dude Wipes.
Dude Wipes. What do you?
Dude. By the way, I have those in my race car when I'm out pre-running. Just saying.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. We really appreciate that.
I mean, they share with us. I got to share them. I mean, sometimes they should.
There we go.
It's a long day.
By the way, in case you're curious, Brendan is joining us remotely from San Felipe. By the way, Brendan, going to be our last week in this exact studio we're in here at South Point. We're moving to a different studio in the South Point. So sorry you didn't get a chance to bury anything in here last week before your last week in here. But anyway,
long as you do the rage room today, just do the rage room, break some windows, have some fun.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Maybe we can just do that. It'd be like, you pay money to hit a car with a sledgehammer at the state fair and stuff like that. Maybe we could do something like that. Well, Brendan, we're talking all things this weekend. Was it the Cookout It's a Cookout 400 at Darlington.
Cookout 400.
By the way, we need a cookout in Las Vegas.
We got Bojangles now. We got
yeah, well, I'm still down on Bojangles until they get me a country ham biscuit out here. So, they have different menus in different parts of the country. Yeah. I don't understand that. So, yeah, that's going to be.
So does Cracker Barrel.
Do they? I haven't noticed anything different in the Cracker Barrel menu, but I'm not even going to mention that B word until they get me country ham biscuits out here. We're not going to give them any time on the air, but cookouts, I love those little pulled pork barbecue sandwiches, and the hush puppies at Cookout are really good. So yes, Cookout, if you're listening,
I like the milkshakes.
We need one out here in Las Vegas. I think I even heard somebody behind the glass agree with that. Yep, there we go. So, all right, but I guess we do need to talk about the Cookout 400 instead of the Cookout Hush Puppies Milkshake and Barbecue 400. So, all right, Brendan. So now we're into our driver head-to-heads, and there's a couple of things that strike me in the head-to-heads. Number one, if Kyle Larson has a problem and you bet against Kyle Larson, you could do quite well. And secondly, if Christopher Bell was to have a really good run, there is money to be made in the driver head-to-heads this week.
I looked, instead of betting the don't line, I just looked and said, what if you bet the Christopher Bell do line? I mean, okay, look, we know he had a bad Vegas, but this is the guy that's been the hottest guy in the sport. And you're telling me I'm getting 155 versus Kyle Larson, 135 versus Tyler Reddick. I'm able to get, Christopher Bell 120 versus Ryan Blaney. Look, these are amazing numbers. And if I look at
125 against William Byron and 135 against Denny Hamlin, I mean, he's on 5+ lines on the driver head-to-heads. 5.
And Blaney's got 3 top 10s in the last 10 races there. I mean, I think that's I'd bet the do line this week before I bet the don't Kyle Larson line. I really like the Christopher Bell do line.
I actually do too. And if you want to know about the don't line on Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney's plus 125 against Kyle Larson. We mentioned Bell being plus 155 against Kyle Larson, and Tyler Reddick is plus 110 against Larson. William Byron is a plus 130 against Larson. So if you've noted a theme in here, it's pretty much either Kyle Larson or Christopher Bell in almost every one of our group matchups.
Yeah, I'm liking I like the Christopher Bell do line, and I'm not so high on the Kyle Larson don't line. But like you said, the Larson don't line, all it takes is him smacking that wall too. And Kyle has been known to hit the wall, right? I mean, it happens all the time when he flirts with disaster up there. So I would not be afraid to take the don't line. And if he cracks the egg, you got a bunch of winners.
People kind of forget Kyle Larson kind of tried the Hail Melon before Ross Chastain at Darlington, and it didn't quite work quite as well for him as it did. But he had a lot farther to go. He had a lot farther to go, I think, than Ross Chastain did. All right, let's move along into our group matchups, and we'll get into Group A, where no big surprise, we've got our biggest names up there. Kyle Larson is the favorite at plus 230. Tyler Reddick and Denny Hamlin are both at plus 270, and Ryan Blaney at plus 300.
I just gave you that stat on Ryan Blaney. Honestly, Blaney is not a Group A driver, in my opinion, right now. So I can take that out to a 3-man horse race and splitting the hair between Kyle, Tyler, and Denny. Denny, coming off momentum. You know how I believe in momentum. Just not enough juice to separate for me. I like the Denny Hamlin pick, but I like the Larson pick. So I'm kind of Larson or Denny, but I don't know if it's just not worth it for me to pick Group A this week.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there on Group A. I'm leaning the same way that you are there. I like Denny Hamlin being a plus 270. I think that's the strongest one out there. I'm a little surprised that Reddick hasn't had better runs at Darlington than what we've seen over the years. I kind of expect more out of him. So I'm wondering if this is the race maybe where Tyler Reddick kind of comes to the front and does his thing, if you will. All right, let's move along. Go ahead.
It could be. I mean, Tyler's not been terrible. 4 top 10s, 3 top 5s, but in 10 races, it seems like like Kyle. He cracks that egg just a little too much and does that damage to the side, and it just is too much for him to overcome to get the good finishes every time.
Well, and one thing I think, you were talking about the juice worth the squeeze. One thing we're going to find in the group matchups this week is the group matchups are pretty tightly packed.
Tight.
So if you're picking in the groups, you're probably not going to get that plus 350 guy. You're also not going to get that plus 175 guy in any of the groups this week. All right, taking a look at Group B, Ross Chastain and Chase Elliott are both plus 265. Alex Bowman plus 270, along with Bubba Wallace.
I'm trying to look down on this one, and Bubba Wallace actually has a 13.3 average finish in the last 10 races to Chase Elliott's 17.1. So that kind of had me shaking my head. I did not expect that. And then if I go find me some Ross Chastain, where is Ross Chastain? There he is, right there in between them, but an average finish of 16.3. I'm kind of high on the Bubba Wallace right here, plus 270. Average finishes say that Bubba Wallace is 4 positions better than anybody else in this group, including Alex Bowman, who has not been running very well here. 9 races, 3 top 10s, average finish of 18. So Bubba Wallace is your odds say Bubba is your Group B favorite.
Well, it will come as no big surprise to you, given our first show of the year, that I'm not feeling Alex Bowman in this group right here. So therefore, that brings me down to a 3-horse race: Chastain, Elliott, and Bubba Wallace, and it kind of gets back to who's the hottest driver out of that group, who's the one that has the most momentum out of this group. And honestly, I think on these intermediate tracks, I think he has been really, really solid all year long, and that's Bubba Wallace. And I know you mentioned Bubba. I like the Bubba Wallace play here, especially that you're getting a little bit of extra juice on him than you are on Chastain or Elliott. So give me Bubba Wallace in Group B at plus 270. I like that one.
Odds say he's the best.
Now, Group C, Brendan, I find this to be a very, very interesting group here. So Josh Berry is a favorite at plus 245. Brad Keselowski's plus 260. Ty Gibbs at plus 275. And Chris Buescher at plus 295.
I'm going to hate that I'm going against my favorite pick and the all-time best pick in Gone Racing since we started this show, Jeff, has been Chris Buescher. I think the man has cashed more tickets than anybody in the history of this show. But Josh Berry is just too darn good this year right now. I know it's Darlington. I know that, he's got very few starts, but he's got 3 starts. And in one of those 3 starts, he's got a top 5. I like Josh Berry here. He's the hottest of these guys that you just named. And like I said about Ty Gibbs, until Ty Gibbs shows me something, I'm off the Ty Gibbs bandwagon until he rights that ship. And so I like Josh Berry, the favorite, at 245.
Well, I don't dislike Josh Berry. What I have kind of done is I've looked at this group and said, I'm throwing Keselowski and Gibbs out. And so I got Josh Berry plus 245. I got Chris Buescher plus 295. I'm kind of torn between those two. And because I'm torn between those two, I like Buescher. Because to me, if I'm that close between Berry and Buescher, but I mean, look, I can make every reason in the world why Josh Berry's going to win this group, the same reasons that you just made. But I also know that this is a kind of racetrack that really lends itself to Chris Buescher's driving style too. We know he's going to be patient. We know he's going to take care of his tires. We know he's got a good car. And again, if the only guy he's got to beat out there is Josh Berry, and he's getting 50 points more than Josh Berry is, then I'm going Chris Buescher for that very reason. But
I cannot knock your reasoning on that. I don't disagree. I was between Buescher and Berry. I just think Berry's hotter, but Chris Buescher is, he's pretty solid and consistent. And at 295, you're getting the better return. I don't disagree with that pick either.
Yeah, not with strong conviction, I will say, but I do like that. All right, let's move along to Group D, where Austin Cindric and Carson Hocevar are both at plus 250. Ryan Preece is plus 270, and Noah Gragson is plus 305. This might be our biggest disparity, almost top to bottom, along with Group A, that we have this week.
This one has me the most nervous when I look at the guys. Honestly, it's hard for me to handicap it because, one, I'm going to start out by saying that I think that Ryan Preece is the hottest guy in this group. I mean, Preece, 3 top 10s, been running great. But right before this, who's been one of these guys, Jeff, that we have talked about all season long that just is really, really surprising us with his team, and that's Carson Hocevar. So I like Hocevar. I like Preece. Austin Cindric, though, looked really good. Penske's good on this type of play. So this is almost my X group with a asterisk. If I was to bet anybody, I'd do Brian Preece based off of momentum.
You know, it's interesting. The whole last few weeks, I've been talking up Ryan Preece, but I've not put my money where my mouth was.
Put your money where your mouth is today.
It's about time to put my money where my mouth is right here. I am not really feeling Cindric, and I'm not feeling Noah as much as I do Hocevar and Preece right here. I think Darlington is a really, really hard track with a guy with as little of experience as Hocevar has to go and try and run well here. I think Preece, he's a thinking man's race car driver. Preece is a guy who is going to take care of his equipment. That team is feeling really good. That team comes into the racetrack every week right now with their heads held up pretty darn high. And again, the two guys I like, one's plus 250, one's plus 270. I'll take the guy with the plus 270.
I like I said, it was either an X or Hocevar for me. That was kind of the two I was leaning was don't do it or go Preece.
No, I think it's a fair point, and I think Austin Cindric's probably the guy that could come and throw a wrench into everything if he has a solid run. But that's why we call it gambling, right? Okay, we'll be back with our final segment on Gone Racing. We got a couple of groups left. Give you manufacturer props, say how we did last week, and give you our picks. Welcome back into Gone Racing, presented by Dude Wipes. Is that better, Brendan? Is that better, Brendan? I just want to know if you like that better.
I think we worked it in better before, Ann gave us copy to say presented by Dude Wipes. I'm just saying. I thought we were doing like mixing it up, and can we get like a wipe with that?
Oh, well, now that's the graphics department there. So yeah, that's above my pay grade. So I can't get that one. So anyway, but by the way, final segment, Gone Racing, presented by Dude Wipes. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan joining us from San Felipe, Mexico, running this weekend in a San Felipe 250. How many races a year do you run down there in Mexico?
Full-time Mexico. Full-time desert racer in Mexico. 4 races.
4 races.
I went from 38 a year to 4.
What a great job. What a great job. Work 4 weekends out of the year. Gotta like that. That's great. I know you laugh because I
got to do the other job to be able to afford this job.
Well, I was going to say, you laugh because I know how many other jobs that you're doing in addition to racing off-road. So, okay. Anyway, let's move on to our final groups. We got 2 groups left. Group E, Daniel Suarez is the favorite. AJ Allmendinger's plus 260. Eric Jones, that 2-time winner at Darlington, and Michael McDowell at plus 295.
I'm not even going to look at stats. I'm just going to go off of what I've seen in the past. You have a guy that's won here twice, a Southern 500 winner twice in Group E. I know they don't run well. I know Legacy is struggling, but I don't care. Eric Jones has got some magic at this track, and he's 295. He's the co-dog. I like the co-dog.
Eric Jones all day. I'm with you totally there. Mm-hmm. I'm all about Eric Jones. I'm with you. I don't really need to break it down. Would not surprise me if one of those other guys won the group, but I mean, it's hard to pick against Eric Jones in a group like this. So Definitely like that. All right, let's take a look at our Group F here, our final group of the day. We've got Austin Dillon and Justin Haley, both at plus 265. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Zane Smith are plus 270.
Dillon's got 3 top 10s in the last 10 starts here. That's the only thing that leans me towards anybody on this one. Haley and Zane are 2 hit and miss and 2 hot and cold. When they do well, Justin Haley does really well. When he doesn't, you don't talk about him. So I like the Austin Dillon pick here. I don't think I'm going to put the money behind it, but I like the Austin Dillon pick.
I finally think I have a group to just throw my X up because I think Dylan's experience certainly fits him well. Ricky's got decent amount of experience as well, but I tell you, I feel like you're picking somebody. Whichever one finishes in the top 20 is going to be the one that wins this group, and yeah, I'm staying away from this one. I got no real analysis on this one, Brendan. I just am going to be like, don't.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, just don't bet this group. Okay, all right, just bet A through E. Let F go. So, all right, let's move along and take a look at our manufacturer prop for this week. Chevy comes in at plus 140. Toyota's plus 150. Ford is the long shot this week at plus 250. Probably about right.
I was going to say, I'm throwing the blanket over Chevy Toyota, but, I wouldn't count Ford out. Logano, Josh Berry, who just won at Vegas, Ryan, I don't know about Ryan Blaney, but Austin Cindric even has looked good at times. I think the 250 is a good bet on Ford this week, but I don't see a favorite. I can't lean one way over any of them, so I am not betting the manufacturer this week.
Yeah, I'm honestly probably a little bit surprised that it's as close as it is between Chevy and Toyota there, but maybe that's the Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell effect there. I love, there's Hendrick cars there. Larson's going to be strong. Byron's going to be strong there for the Chevy camp. So I'm with you. Probably staying away from the manufacturer pick. Don't really feel that strongly about the Fords. I'm with you. If Blaney is not the favorite in the Fords, it's hard for me to want to pick them. Although I agree with you also that Joey Logano and Josh Berry, and so could Chris Buescher, or Keselowski or Priest, those guys too. But I'm with you, staying away from manufacturer pick this week. All right, let's real quick, our championship odds. Nothing really changed much this week. Denny Hamlin picked up the win, but he's still plus 800. I think part of that's because everybody assumed Denny Hamlin was going to get a win. So what we did not see, we really didn't see a lot of movement at all. The one person whose numbers I think did drop again this week, even though he didn't have a good finish, he ran well, was Josh Berry. I think Josh was 50-1 last week, and he dropped all the way to 30-1 this week.
Yep.
And maybe that's because he was winning at Martinsville when his alternator died, causing the battery issues. And I think that's when you start wondering, if you're setting the championship odds, knowing he's going to make the playoffs, let's see, what if he could win somewhere and get himself into that final 8, knowing that Martinsville is there at the end and he's going to run well. So he's really the one guy that if you wanted to get on Josh Berry, it's getting close to getting too late to get the true odds that you really wanted to get on him.
Remember, this is hedge time. Ross Chastain's still 30-1. Joey Logano is still 18-1. That's Logano, your reigning champion. Logano, 18-1. Still some great numbers on those guys deep there. And Josh, I think people are just betting him down 30-1 because people are betting him. They think that he's they're still going to put some money on him because he's doing well. So good for Josh. I like it. And I put a couple bucks on him. See what like you said, if he can make it to that round at Martinsville, he has a shot to get himself in.
No, totally agree with you. Okay, now let's talk about how we did last week. I think everybody ended up in a positive figure. Most of it was because we were all getting head-to-heads. I think we have a graphic coming up on the screen here if you're watching us. My picks last week, I had a couple of the head-to-heads. Denny Hamlin over Blaney and Bell over Logano. A little heartbreak there with Bell finishing second, and I picked him to win. And I had Josh Berry in a couple of bets there. I had him for a top 3, had him in Group C. Certainly disappointed when his alternator went out, kind of cost some picks there. But for the season, keeping the lead there at 20. And then Brendan, take a look at yours. Also, head-to-heads. Bell over Logano, Larson over Blaney. You had the same Berry pick that I did. I tell you bet against my man Gilliland. You bet against Gilliland over there.
I did go against. Listen, I'm on a 3-hour tour right now, and Gilligan is absolutely showing the way. He's doing great right now. I keep picking him.
And our pit crew had another good week too. They also had a couple of head-to-heads. Larson over Blaney. I think all of us had Hamlin over Blaney, so all 3 of us had the Hamlin over Blaney pick. They also had Larson. Then they went with 3 top 3s. None of their guys really finished very close to the top 3. But that's kept our standings pretty much the same. I'm still leading the way. You're second, and the pit crew is third. So guess what? Pit crew picks are going first, and I'm happy to read those for right now. They start off with, I have to, me, I'm kind of getting old. I have to take my glasses off to be able to read. Bubba Wallace.
I don't know why you have to have glasses to see things. I don't understand why you'd have to have those things. I can do this. Oh wait, never mind.
I'm the reverse of most people, though. Most people have to put their glasses on to read.
You take yours off to read.
I have to take mine off to read. So I guess that means I'm nearsighted. I can't see stuff that's a long way away. It's all blurry. Like right now, the whole crew behind the glass is blurry. Okay, their picks. They got Bubba Wallace for a top 3 at plus 500. They've got William Byron over Kyle Larson. They're taking Eric Jones in Group E. They also have Christopher Bell over Denny Hamlin. And they are riding that Bubba Wallace bandwagon. They're taking Bubba Wallace in Group B at plus 270.
Well, listen, right now that, we've talked about it the last couple shows, I think for about 2 or 3 episodes in a row, Jeff, we have had all 3 of us on a bet, and they win every time all 3 of us are on that bet. So we're the opposite of the SI jinx, man. We must be doing something right. Me, I'm going to kick off with 2 head-to-heads. I'm doing the C-Bell do line. I'm taking C-Bell versus Reddick at 135, and I'm taking C-Bell versus Blaney at 120. Those 2 numbers right there, I think Christopher Bell has been running too strong to be on the dog against that many different people. So I'm going to jump on his group, and then I am going in the groups. I got 3 groups this week. I got Bubba in Group D plus 270. I'm a Bubba believer right now. He's been looking really good. I'm Ryan Preece Group D. I tried to talk myself out of it by saying it was an X, and then I couldn't put the X up. I had to throw it in there. And then my lock this week, Eric Jones, Group E, 295. I don't care that AJ Allmendinger might be better. I don't care that teams might be better. Eric Jones knows how he's getting around that place. I don't know what he's got, but Eric Jones has some magic there.
Well, the bad news for you is it will be very, very difficult for you to gain on me a lot this week because
long season still. Long season.
It is because I'm agreeing with you on 4 of our picks.
Ooh.
Yes. So, yeah, that's going to be a little rough. And since you have said that we don't give the kiss of death anymore, we now give the kiss of life. We will be giving the kiss of life to a driver as well. So my picks, there's 2 places where I am going Christopher Bell. I'm going him plus 120 over Ryan Blaney. Same pick as you have there. But my other pick, this is the one where you and I are different. I'm going Christopher Bell plus 125 over William Byron. So I think you picked Bell over Reddick or Hamlin one, but I've taken him over
Reddick.
Byron. Yeah, over Reddick. So I've taken him over Byron. But then our 3 group picks are the same. Bubba Wallace in Group B, Ryan Preece in Group D, and Eric Jones in Group E, meaning that all 3 of us picked Eric Jones in Group E. So let's hope that is the kiss of life and not the kiss of death.
Did the pit crew also pick Bubba Wallace?
Did the pit crew? Oh yeah, they picked Bubba Wallace. Yeah. So excuse me, we have 2 kisses of life in here.
See if we can keep our streak alive, baby. If the streak stays alive, I think we need to start publicizing that we have the kiss of life instead of the kiss of death on Gone Racin. We need to get SiriusXM to give us some sort of tag for being the kiss of life.
No, I'm totally with you because maybe people should listen to us. Tune in. Tell your friends. Log our YouTube channel. Listen to us on SiriusXM, especially the YouTube channel. We want to get as many subscribers on that YouTube channel, and it's a Gone Racing YouTube channel. So tell your friends. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or what did Snap Face? Isn't that what
Snap?
That's what Bill Belichick called it. That Snap Face or My Book or whatever.
My Book and Face.
Yeah,
that sort of stuff. That sounds like our age group right there.
Bill Belichick had all those fun numbers. So, all right, Brendan, we got about 30 seconds left to go in the show here. Darlington, one of your favorites, or is it a place you hated?
I loved it. Loved Darlington from the first time I went there. Had a lot of great runs there. Have a lot of great memories. The late, great Buddy Baker was my driver coach there even one of those years. Had a phenomenal time with him. So miss him a ton every day. And thanks, Mr. Motley, for filling in for me. And I'll check my Twitter out, and you'll see a link to follow us live in the San Felipe race. You can actually watch the entire race live from our race car.
All right. Well, good luck down in Mexico. That's it for Gone Racing, presented by Dude Wipes for this week. We'll be back next week. We'll wrap up Darlington and tell you all things about Bristol.